Yo, what's up, legends? Welcome back. Do you remember me? Yes, it's been a while. My bad. I'm starting to get back into the swing of things after Christmas and New Year. Happy New Year to all of you guys. Thank you so much for the support. Patreon squad, we're going to go through my new track once again. If you want the sounds from this song, all you need to do is go on patreon.com/Ollie James. Link is in the description. And you can download instantly the once again sample pack so you get all this stuff. All this crazy big room techno, hardstyle, whatever you want to call it, all these next level sounds for my rave ready crew. The website went down a little bit last week. It was offline for about a week. It is all fixed now. The gods were with us. It is all fixed. So if you want to grab some templates, hit the link in the description, rave ready samples, and you can go ahead there. I'm going to release something new very soon. Thanks for the support on this track. If you don't know what it sounds like, it sounds a little bit like this. So a few of the boys in the Discord said, please can you show us how you made Once Again? So that's what I'm going to do. It's a collaboration with my friend Rox Remora, who lives quite close to me. We started working on a track 3 years ago, maybe even more than 3 years, and finally finished. We've done like 2 or 3 different track ideas, and this was the one where it was just, we were really happy with it and we wanted to get something out. So we start with this kind of intro drop. So it's not necessarily a crazy high energy drop. This is just like the little teaser for the track. So we're going to tease the melody and stuff, and we're going to have the drums in there. So we can go through some of the sounds from this drop, but bearing in mind it's not a crazy big drop. It's just really more like an intro, you know. So kick drum, super important. We have this kick drum, which is the kick from my track with Reslow, Meant to Be. I resampled this, so we have just this kick on its own. Then I added a top kick to it, which is, it's really, really small. It's really only given that real click. As I said before, if you're a patron, you can just download this kick, processed, mastered, you know what I mean? All of it comes together. But this is how I created it. So there we already have like that real punch through kick. This works really well on sound systems. Played this track quite a lot and played another track with a certain somebody where I use the same kick, and it sounds crazy. Bass line is of course super important too. What a crazy bass line. So that's what we have. That's where I found this sound. I had to transform it a bit because this sound didn't have the required low end that I really needed. I'm using the low end, the mids, everything from this one sample. So I need to process it in a way where I can make it fat enough. As you can see, I've used the PwigTech. Shout out to Lucic who showed me the light on this one. Boosted the low end and just brought down the gain a little bit because it's too distorted if I don't do that. We've got a filter which makes it techno. If you want to make something techno, smash a filter on it. We've made this kind of wobble bass line. Little bit side trance, but this makes it just super techno. Sidechain as well, we've gone for the nice and tight so it just doesn't clash with that kick. It's got a nice like rhythm to it, like this. It's not just da 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 da. It's got a nice little rhythm. This is stuff I didn't use. Same for that. So that's literally the drop. For drop 1, we have the kick and bass, just that, what you've just heard. So we do have this bass shot, which is from Nexus, and it is the Ultra Bass Pad. Nice crispy sound, this with a really good reverb tail. We have this trancey techno sound. Provides a little bit of atmosphere in the drop. It makes it sound a little bit darker, which is obviously the style of the track. I needed to do that. I have quite a lot of saw layers. So what I've done is bounced a few layers out because the CPU was going crazy. This is the melody, simple trance melody. So what I've done is bounce that out to create this loop. This wasn't enough though, so I did have to find some extra layers to go underneath that. So here's some right here. Now these are just providing more of the click to the sound. We've got lead uber saw there, which is just a saw sound. We've got a plug from Nexus and also a big saw preset from Nexus. I know you guys love it when you use Nexus because you can just go straight up copy my presets. I'm here to help you guys, so I'm glad it helps you out. So we have these together and it sounds good. Wanted to filter it out though. As I said, this is not the all-out crazy drop. We do have some little techno bits, as it's called there. So this is basically a sequencer from Nexus where I pick sounds from it, and these are the sounds I was left with. So you've got a nice little pluck runner there, you've got a clap, you've got this kind of big bass shot which is super techno sounding. I really recommend the sequencers in Nexus. They are next level. In the fill, super simple fill here, which is just a techno snare roll, which I just took the end from. Works really well, it really fills the gap there. What I have done is on the master chain, I have added a phaser, a flanger, sorry. So as you can hear, this sound kind of changes. Can you hear that? Sick. Fruity flanger. All you need to do is stick it on. If I can find the thing. Just stick it on, don't make any changes whatsoever, and just automate this. And it just sounds sick. You know, you hear this a lot in Future Rave and stuff, but it just sounded so good here. Into the second part of the drop, it's just drums, which we are going to focus on later because I use the same drums in the second drop. As you can see, everything's pretty much the same. So we will go through that in a little bit. Let's talk about breakdown number 1. Breakdown number 1 is quite atmospheric. This is probably one of my favorite breakdowns I've ever made. It's emotional, it's trancey, but it also has that like sound design element with the LFO. So let's go through the simple things first, which is the pad. I love these chords. Super trancey, kind of sounds like you're about to go into battle, but at the same time it's like emotional, makes you want to cry. That's what I like. I want you to be like drunk AF in the crowd, and I want you to like either cry or just want to go crazy. And that's what I think what this kind of melody does. It just provides such a great atmosphere mixed with that dark techno pad. Just creates such a vibe. We have some vocal textures as well. See how it just complements it. If you're going to do a trancey breakdown, try and get as many trance like effect sounds as possible. There's some really nice like glittery sounds you can just stick in there. Then we go to our most important part, which is the LFO sound. Here is the rate, and I'm going to get Serum up so you can see what happens with the sound itself. Let's just loop that a little bit and get Serum back open. As you can see, the sound is just, it's got so much movement. It's interesting to listen to. It's something that you don't necessarily get bored of. Like if this was just a synth playing a long note, you would get bored of it, right? And it gets even more interesting when the melody changes, right? Because the notes are changing as well as the LFO rate, so you've got like double the amount of change there, so it is really interesting. Now what's going on here, I think, if I remember correctly, this, from what I just heard there, it seems to be like I'm moving the cut off. Yeah, so what I'm doing is making the sound be filtered out when it kind of changes, so that's an extra layer of change in the sound. It helps with the transition where the sound kind of tails off. That's pretty much the only reason I did it. Another thing that I would recommend, you could play with the stereo field, so you could make the sound super stereo and then make it like end mono, and then when the LFO comes again, stereo, and play with anything you can, because in this day and age it's so hard to keep people interested in this kind of music, so we need to be doing everything possible to keep people interested in the breakdowns. We've got automation on the reverb as well. In that gap I've got to fill it with something, so I picked reverb. See how it just automates up and then it goes away again. Easy stuff there. Then we go into our first big build-up. So this is basically the first proper drop in the song. We have some tension strings. I love using those. They're typically used in house and stuff, but it really does do wonders for the tension. We've got some risers here. Interesting to use this. I will say it's very bold. It's quite a cringy big room one, but it's disguised enough, which provides enough frequencies and energy there. I love risers like this. You could, if you don't have a riser with this transition in it, I would recommend you do it. Just cut the last bar, so this bar here, and duplicate it, and then just put a pitch bend on the end. And just literally pitch automate it, and it'll just help you again with the transition there. With regards to the build-up snares, as I said before, if you're a Patreon, you can just grab this thing and put it straight into your tracks. You don't have to do all this kind of stuff, but we have a big hard snare, which I've done a lot of automation to, just reducing the low end, reducing the high end as well, so it can like transform. See how it goes away smoothly. I also have a snare roll. See how it just beautifully goes away. That's something that you just don't hear from, let's say, like bedroom producers. They just stick in the Kashmir one and that's it. Whereas I want all of you guys to try and do this kind of stuff, because automations are I think one of the biggest differences between a professional and a bedroom producer, right? It's all the fiddly, boring stuff in most people's eyes, but that's really the way you stand out. It's not just making a sick sound in Serum. It's like, what can you do with that? So that's how to make real professional sound and build-ups. Play with the automation. Filter it off at the end so it can make the transition better. Volume automation, bring the volume down, etc., etc. As you can see, I've filtered off the highs of the sample. So both of the components kind of disappear together smoothly. Then we have, I would say, the main part of the song. Once again, this tension section. So first we have a big ass impact with that future wave bass sound that you heard before. This just makes people think, okay, there's not a drop coming, but it's going to come soon. Once again. This one is so simple, but it really works. Trust me, this kind of thing works. It's a simple melody, but the sound design's really interesting. So that kind of piques your interest. You know, with big room, the sound design's never really, not usually that interesting. So the melody has to be super interesting. Whereas with this, as long as your sound design is interesting, you can have just a simple da 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 da, something simple like that. It'll bang in a club. As long as all your frequencies are met, of course. You know about the kick, we've gone through that already. Nothing changes, as we said before, it's just the bass loop with the filter on it. The only thing here is this little synth shot. Nice little sound there. And then basically the piece de resistance, which is the main lead. So the main lead is, I'm not going to tell you. No, I am going to tell you. It's a screech from Synth, and it's a hardstyle screech. We're going to turn all my processing off so you can hear what the sound was like when I discovered it. So it's a good sound on its own. It's not quite good enough though. So that's why the processing really is important, because you go from this to this. Sorry for your ears, by the way. That was a big jump in volume. We'll go through what I've done here. This one was more focused on distortion than anything. For these kind of sounds, you overdo the distortion. For a big room lead, don't go too crazy on the distortion, because it is going to sound, messy. But for a sound like this, which is already a bit distorted, you can really mess it up. Just don't go too hard. That's what I will say. You want to do a lot, but not too much. There is a boundary. Camel Crusher, of course. Blood Overdrive, quite a lot this time. FabFilter Satin, saturate the sound already. We're going to Isotope Trash saturate. That's double saturation. We're going to use a lot of transient shaper to make this as clicky and as short as possible. We've got an EQ getting rid of the lows, boosting the mid frequencies, doing a dip where I felt it was a little bit like screechy, and we're going to do a high boost as well. Oxford Inflator to literally inflate the sound with these settings here. We've got stereo imaging on this to make it wide. Nowadays what I'm doing is making it more narrow. I feel like you can have more fun with the effects in stereo and have the leads in mono. But in this one I made it super wide. We've got a boost in the mids again because I'm never happy. I'm just never happy. Autoacoustic reverb with a peak controller. That allows the lead to shine through, and when the lead isn't playing, the reverb can just fill that empty space. This will just be for the volume. A little bit loud, so I brought it down. We have an EQ doing exactly what I did before. I wasn't satisfied. But you see this a lot with hardstyle, right? They really have crazy automations and boosting like 10, 12, 15 dBs and stuff, because you can really distort sounds cleanly. And this and without those EQs, see, it's not too messy or anything, right? But see how much I was boosting each time. Boost until your ears detect that it's maybe a little bit too much. And the only way, by the way, is to basically train your ears by listening to other music. That's the way you'll know, okay, this is too much. We've got a bigifier on here, which is bigifying the sound, literally opening the sound. A little bit like Oxford Inflator, I will say. So basically double inflating the sound. I've got SSL compressor trying to make it a little bit more tight with all of those plugins. I just want, especially the reverb as well, I want everything to feel a bit more tight. Sidechain, a high chain with not even 100% on there. So that is pretty much the lead. As you can see, I used a main lead channel and a lead bus. Sorry I didn't name it any better, but basically I route this one into here, and that is basically how I process my leads. I am using about, what is this, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, yeah, like 20 plugins on my leads, because I feel like that's, I mean, if I could do 400 I probably would, but I think 20 is a good amount to really distort a sound, as long as the sound is quite well processed to begin with, like that silent one was. But that is pretty much it for the drop. Missing something though, right? That's where I found this little sound. Now this on its own is not too pleasing, but it had a little bit of something where I thought this will work with this sound. A little bit more grit added to it, but it really does make a difference. So in the second part, we have the synths that I showed you before. To make up that loop, by the way, I think it was a lot of Silent and Spire. I think more on the Spire side, to be honest. Oh, actually, maybe we can see it. Do I still have them? Ah, Vital, my bad. So I use Vital for this. Some really cool UK hardcore presets there. Really big chord sounds. But as you can see, like, I wanted to consolidate it because it was using quite a lot of my CPU. This boy is old now. Don't want to stress him out too much. So yeah, we bring that back in, and this melody fits so well with the lead. It kind of fills the gaps. So it sounds really interesting because it's playing two different melodies, but they're using kind of the same melodies. Bump, bump, bump. So it kind of fits together. It doesn't sound too weird. We've got a big white noise here. We've got some techno drums from the sequences before that I mentioned. You can get some really good drums there. White noise, of course, to just increase that energy a little bit, and also crowd noise. And in addition to that, we have some other drum loops, which are these. Nice texture on these, and this is one of my favorite hi-hats. What other drums do we have? We have this. This one is a pluck runner. So I made this. I don't know if it was an ARP or something, but I consolidated this one as well because it was a CPU guzzler. But this one just provides a real nice feeling in the drop. So that's what it is, but I distorted it and processed it the exact same way that it is.